Meseches Sotah Daf Mem continues the Gemara's discussion of the halachos of Birchas Kohanim. The Gemara along the way will give some agadata about Rabbi Avod min Akko and his tremendous humility. The Gemara will talk a little bit about Moedim and Tzibur, and then the Gemara will bring our next Mishnah. So let's begin. The Gemara is in the middle of saying that there are several psukim that the Tzibur might possibly be saying in conjunction with the bracha that they were hearing from the Kohanim. So we had 3 psukim for each of the 3 brachos of Birchas Kohanim. So now the Gemara is going to discuss when we say these and then if we say them at all, which is not so simple. So when do we say them? So Rav Yosef said you say it for each pasuk. Each pasuk of Birchas Kohanim has a pasuk that the Tzibur says in response to that. Rav Sheisha said you say it by the mentioning of Hashem's name. It's not at the end of the pasuk like the first opinion, like Rav Yosef, but when Hashem's name is mentioned, that is when the Tzibur recites the pasuk that corresponds to that bracha. Now, the Gemara now brings a machlokes between Rav Mari and Rav Zvid. One says it's pasuk for pasuk, and the other one says it's on each pasuk you say all 3. That is, according to the first opinion, there's 3 psukim of Birchas Kohanim, 3 psukim of the Yisraelim, 1-1. According to the second opinion, on each pasuk of Birchas Kohanim, the Yisraelim say all 3 of theirs. Says Rav Chia bar Abba, you should say it only in the Beis Hamikdash and not in the rest of Eretz Yisrael. It was only set up for the Birchas Kohanim that was said in Eretz Yisrael. Mechanina bar Papa said you don't even say it in the Mikdash, because if an Eved is receiving a bracha from his master, he should listen. He shouldn't be speaking. Rabbi Acha bar Chanina said you should say it even in the rest of Eretz Yisrael, not only in the Mikdash, because if an Eved hears a bracha from his master, he should show that he accepts it and that he is pleased by it, and therefore we should be saying these psukim. Said Rabbi Avo, in the beginning I used to say them, but then I saw that Rabbi Abba min Akko did not say them. So therefore I don't say them either. Says Rabbi Avo also, incidentally, in the beginning I thought I was in Anaf, I thought I was humble. And then I saw Rabbi Abba min Akko, I saw his humility, that he was really humble, then I realized that I'm not so humble. What was his humility? When he used to say shir, so he would say it quietly, and then there was a Maturgam who would announce it out loud. It was someone with a loud voice, would say it for everyone else to hear. But his job was just to repeat the shir that Rabbi Avo said out loud, or the shir that Rabbi Abba said out loud. But when Rabbi Abba said the shir, this speaker would go and say his own thing. He would say his own pshat, as if it was Rabbi Avo. Says the Gemara, what was the actual... so that was the humility of Rabbi Abba min Akko. Now what was the humility of Rabbi Avo himself? So Gemara says that the wife of his Maturgam, the wife of his speaker, said to Rabbi Avo's wife, my husband doesn't need your husband to say shir. He says a shir on his own. That he bends over and pretends to be listening to your husband before he speaks is only to show him kavod, but really he's perfectly fit to say the shir on his own. So Rabbi Avo's wife heard that, and she went and she told her husband. So Rabbi Avo said, who cares? The point is that the shir should be said, and that it should bring shavach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who cares if I'm getting credit for it, or if he's getting credit for it? What does he care? What does I care? And what do you care? Furthermore, Amor says it was another incident that Rabbi Avo was set to be appointed as the leader of the Rabbanon, and he saw that Rabbi min Akko had a lot of obligation, and that is he needed money because he owed money to people. So he understood that if he will become the leader, he'll get a lot of income from that. And so he told the Chachamim that he is greater than him, and he should be appointed so that he could have that position. Now the Gemara relates an incident that happened. The Gemara says that Rabbi Avo and Rav Chia bar Abba went to a certain place, and Rabbi Avo said a drasha in Agadita, and Rav Chia bar Abba said a drasha in Halacha. So everybody left Rav Chia bar Abba's drasha in Halacha and went to hear the drasha in Agadita of Rabbi Avo. So obviously Rav Chia bar Abba became upset. So Rabbi Avo consoled him and he said, I'll tell you, Amashal, you have two people who come to town. One is selling jewelry, and one is selling trinkets, needles and thread and things like that. So everybody's going to go run to the guy who's selling the small things, because those are the things that they can afford. And that doesn't mean that they're more valuable. The opposite. It means that they're cheaper, they're less valuable, and that's why people can afford them, and that's why they go to them. So he meant to say that the fact that they came to hear my share is because I was selling cheap stuff, but you had the more expensive chashuva stuff, the halachos, that not everybody could understand, and that's why they came to me. But it did not imply in any way that he was greater. The opposite is true. It was implying that he was less. So the Gemara says that, nevertheless, every day, generally, Rabbi Chia bar Abba would walk Rabbi Avo to his house, because Rabbi Avo was close to the king, so it was Kvoid Malchus. On that day, Rabbi Avo walked Rabbi Chia bar Abba all the way to his house, and even so, it did not settle the mind of Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Another Gemara discusses Moedim. So the Gemara says when the Chazan says Moedim, so the Tzibur says Moedim as well. What is the Moedim that the Tzibur should say? So the Gemara is going to bring a number of different phrases, and we combine them all, and that's our Moedim Derabanan. So Rav says we say Moedim Anachnu Lach Hashem Elokeinu Al Sha'anu Moedim Lach. Shmuel says Elokeinu Basar Al Sha'anu Moedim Lach. Rav Simai said Yitzinu Yotze Bereshis Al Sha'anu Moedim Lach. Nahardai say name Rabbi Simai Brachis Vadas Hashem Chalagada Al Shechizanu Yemtanu Al Sha'anu Moedim Lach. Rav Bar Yaakov ended off Kein Techainu Sechanenu Sekabtzenu Vesasev Galayasenu Chasis Kashach Alishmer Chakacha Velases Vitzenacha Bleiv Shalim Al Sha'anu Moedim Lach. Says Rav Papa, therefore we say all of these things, we combine them all together, and that makes Moedim Derabanan. Says Rav Yitzchak, a person should always have the awe of the tzibur, of the congregation upon him, because you see that Kahanim turn their face towards the tzibur and turn their backs towards the Shekhinah. Menachem says there's a different source for that. It says Vayakom HaMelech David al Raglav. The king David stood up on his feet, Vayomer Shema'uni Achai V'ami, and he said, "Listen to me, my brothers and my people." So he called them my brothers and my people. What does that refer to? So he said, if they're my brothers, why do I call them my people? And if they're my people, why do I call them my brothers? So Rabbi Lazar explains, David was saying as follows: if you're going to listen to me, so then you're my brothers. And that is because I'm in awe of you. And if you're not going to listen to me, then you're my people. That means you're my subject, and I'm going to be able to ride over you with a staff, meaning to say that I'll be able to have control over you. So you see that as long as they were listening to him, they were on the level that they were to be. He was to have awe and fear of them. The Rabbanan said there's a different source for this. Is the Kahanim are not allowed to go up to do a Berachas Kahanim when they're wearing their sandals, their shoes. So what's the reason? It must be, well, first of all, this is one of the 9 takanas that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai made. And what's the reason? It must be because of Kvod HaTzibur. So you see, you have to have tremendous awe for the Tzibur. Now, the understanding of that is that when they lift up their arms, their robes would lift from the floor, and their shoes would be visible, and it was not covered for the Tzibur to see the muddy shoes. So Gemara says, no, that's not the reason. The reason is that it's likely that a shoe would snap, the strap would break, and he would be embarrassed to be up there with a torn shoe, and he would go down to fix it. In the meantime, would miss Berachas Kahana, and everybody would think it is a Pasal Kain, is Ben Grusha or Ben Chalutza. Gemara now quotes the last line in our previous Mishnah, where we said that we say 3 Ameins in Berachas Kahana, 1 for each pasuk. That's only in the rest of Eretz Yisrael, but in the Mikdash you only said we did not say Amen in between. So the Gemara explains what's the reason. So where's the reason? It's because they didn't say Amen in the Mikdash at all. It says Gemara, where do you see that? The Gemara quotes a brisa. It says Kumu Barchos Hashem Elokeichem min ha'olam v'ad ha'olam. That's how they used to say the brachos in the Beis HaMikdash. They didn't say Amen. It says Gemara, how do you know that each bracha you should say a tehillah? You should say praise. That's when the pasuk says Yivarach Hashem k'veidecha u'meremem kol brachos tehillah. So on every bracha there's a sehila. So after every Shem Hashem they would say Baruch Hashem Kavod Malchusay Le'elam Va'ed. Now we begin the next Mishnah, which discusses the bracha of the Kohen Gadol. Up to now we discussed Berachas Kahanim. Now we discuss the brachas of the Kohen Gadol. When did the Kohen Gadol give brachas? That was on Yom Kippur. After the Avodah, he came out, he leaned, and he did 8 brachas for the tzibur. So the Mishnah describes that when. So the Chazan HaKnesses, which is like the Shamish, he's the one who was responsible for everything that went